I grew up on an island, not like one in the movies. Merritt Island, Florida was more of a mudflat sandwiched between the mainland to the west and the beach to the east. In August of 1971, I started third grade there, and my parents sat me down and told me my route to school. I was to bicycle all the way down the sidewalk to the front of the neighborhood, where I would dismount and cross the street. Then I would remount and take the path bordering the main drag all the way down to the traffic light where there was a crossing guard. After crossing, I'd continue down the path to school and lock my bike in the big corral out front, a distance of 1.5 miles. In the afternoon, I'd do it all in reverse to get home. That kind of thing was routine at the time. My school's bike corral was filled with bikes, and children's biking was a fixture of popular culture, as seen in the classic movie E.T. and the TV series Stranger Things. Since then, biking has only gotten safer, just as the U.S. has gotten safer generally. There is one fatality for every 5 million rides, half the rate of the 1970s. At the same time, biking to school is down. Youth biking generally, down even more. Walking to school, down even more than that. My old bike corral is still there, but these days it's mostly empty, with the stands in the middle removed and half of the others filled with sand and unusable. In its place, there is an ocean of cars. These days, nearly 90% of American children are driven to school one way or another. The very notion that a child would bicycle to elementary school seems odd at best and disquieting at worst. How did this happen? How did such a mainstay of childhood become safer and yet wither away? I think the answer to this question says less about our children than it does about ourselves. I've thought about this question a lot because, in a sense, I've never quit biking to school. After elementary school, I biked to junior high school, and in college. After that, I biked when teaching high school in New Orleans, and then when I went back for my doctorate, and then in my professor jobs after that. Shoot, I biked here today. Along the way, biking became more than transportation. It's been a subject of my research and a gift I've given to others, distributing hundreds of bicycles through a large giveaway program here in town. It's even been a mode of travel through long solo tours like this one from Louisville to Pittsburgh, and many others besides. These experiences have helped me understand the essential nature of biking, which in turn can help us understand why children don't bike to school and why maybe they should. There are many facets to biking, but that essential nature boils down to just one thing. We can see it best on long solo tours like the ones I just showed you. What does it really take to complete those successfully? Well, first, there's the bike. The pros need great equipment, but you and I don't. It just has to be comfortable and reliable. Day to day, bikes take more maintenance than cars do. Much of it little things you have to do yourself, like airing tires and oiling chains and checking for things that are about to break. Then there's the environment you're biking through, the roads, the weather, the shape of the land. You have to have a real sense of where you are, where you're going, and what lies ahead. This requires you to be perceptive and alert, especially in unfamiliar territory. And then there's you. That bike is not going to pedal itself. Fortunately, you don't have to be in great shape. I don't train for my bicycle trips, and lots of other people don't either. You definitely need persistence, especially on a long uphill or a windy day, But there's more to it than keeping on, keeping on. If you aren't a self-starter, you won't finish. If we step back from these details and look at the big picture, we can see how everything comes together. There is persistence and prudence, initiative and situational awareness, discipline and problem solving. A single quality encompasses all of these things: self-reliance. Biking to school requires this same quality in smaller doses. The bike still has to work. You still have to know where you're going. You still have to get there on your own. Every bike ride is a small exercise in self-reliance. Without it, kids won't leave their driveways. Self-reliance is quintessentially American. Whether we're throwing tea into Boston Harbor, or building a railroad coast to coast, or developing a vaccine for COVID-19, it is the essence of the can-do American spirit. But it doesn't materialize on its own. Kids may grow like weeds, but self-reliance must be cultivated by putting children in situations where it can develop and largely leaving them alone. It requires commitment on the community's part and patience, presence, and forbearance on ours. Communities could do better. There aren't enough safe places for biking in the U.S. or enough crossing guards. But the greater part has to do with us, and we could do better too. One problem is we've lost self-reliance ourselves. Our cars tell us when something is wrong. We pay someone to change our oil. If there's a flat, we call AAA. We let the little computers in our pockets tell us the weather and where to go, to the point we no longer know which way is north. The world has become somewhat alien to us. I see this all the time. If I show up at a four-way stop after a car does, I practically have to get off my bike and push the car through the intersection. First, I signal a stop with my left arm, and then I put my foot down as reassurance, and still, they are petrified. Their perception is warped from always seeing the road through their windshield. The actual physical environment is alien to them. Imagine what it must be like for our children. The other problem is even more fundamental. We've become hesitant to let our children engage with the world as it is, and a little too hasty to insert ourselves between the two. I see this in 1,000 ways. When parents are out on the field coaching a t-ball team during a game, or when I ask a trick-or-treater what they're dressed up as, and the parent answers before the child can. They're the Paw Patrol. I know they're the Paw Patrol. They are all the Paw Patrol, and they take pride in telling me themselves. Or, I've done this one, perhaps we all have. We say something when reality has spoken clearly enough. If a child trips over their shoelaces and falls, the scrape on their knee is already telling them to tie their shoes better, but it can be so tempting to add some commentary ourselves. In their own small way, actions like these undermine the development of self-reliance. How will children ever develop the confidence to bike on their own? It's not just me. Psychologists have documented decades of decline in childhood freedom, as staying at home and video games and organized activities have supplanted lightly supervised, unstructured play. Over this same period, children's mental health has declined substantially. The reduction in children's biking is emblematic of a much bigger problem. It does not have to be this way. We can instead embrace children's natural desire to try things, to explore, to get up close to the world, to revel in the glories of childhood. To that end, I have some rather oddly specific suggestions for your consideration. The tires on a child's bike typically inflate to 60 pounds per square inch. You can check on the side to be sure. If you can depress the tire any material amount with your thumb, and often you can, it doesn't have enough air and needs to be pumped up. If the seat is set so that it's easy for the child to get on their bike, then it will be difficult to ride. Raise the seat until there's just a slight bend in the knee at the bottom of the downstroke, and keep raising it as the child grows. Kids need to know clouds, how to gauge their distance, their movement, their potential for rain. And if you really want to feel safer about your kid biking, get them a helmet. I feel naked without mine. Last year, my bicycle trip ended on another island, the cycling haven of Montreal, Canada. As I pedaled along a path into downtown, I stopped at a traffic light, and a little boy of about 7 pulled up next to me with his mother behind him. I'll admit to feeling pretty good, pretty accomplished, finishing a 3-week, 600-mile journey at the age of 59. And then I looked down at that little boy, and I could tell that his expression matched mine. They both said, "I've got this." That's what self-reliance feels like. You see, biking doesn't just take self-reliance, it develops it too. It provides a gradually increasing scope of responsibility and initiative with the rewards of freedom and mobility to match. These are the foundations of self-reliance. Reversing the decline in self-reliance won't be easy, just as cultivating it in our children isn't easy. But parents, you are not alone. There is something out there in the garage, eagerly waiting to assist. Probably with underinflated tires, seat too low, squeaky chain, with a slightly faded sticker on its little frame. Barbie, Spider-Man, maybe even the Paw Patrol. My friends, a bicycle is a vehicle for developing self-reliance. It's time to put it to work. Thank you.